Today is September 17th, and this is production update for Epika Worlds. I'm going to show you some new things today. So first, let's take a look at some of the geography. If we zoom out, this is Middle East, specifically Israel. You see Jerusalem right here, Tel Aviv, and we'll be focusing on Sea of Galilee and Capernaum specifically. This is where Jesus preached for 3 years, and that's what we've been building. So if we zoom in, you will see Capernaum today as the ruins are there. In the middle right here, this is the 3rd century synagogue. 1st century synagogue is right here. In fact, let's drop in and show you what it looks like. So it's kind of ruins of the synagogue as they are today. So you kind of see a rectangular building with columns and benches. You can also take a look at Peter's house. Peter's house is right here. There's a Catholic church, octagonal church built on top of it. So if we drop in right here, you will see these are the ruins of Peter's house. There are many churches built on there over centuries, and today there's a church, Catholic church, sitting on top, but preserving the ruins. You can take a look at city of Capernaum as it looks today as a whole. If we kind of look from here, you see Sea of Galilee, and Capernaum is right below us. Again, so this is the 1st century synagogue. It was expanded in 3rd and 4th century, this section, but this is the 1st century synagogue. This is kind of Peter's house, and this is how the harbor looks today. And Franciscan monks oversee it, so they built a building for themselves to oversee city of Capernaum. City of Capernaum is actually larger. You see the ruins outside the walls, but the kind of preserved areas are right here. The reason I want to show you Capernaum, because you'll see it as we create in 1st century in a second, but we have some new features. So zooming out, if you zoom out a little bit, you see this little piece right here. And this is called the Sower's Cove, because this is where believed that Jesus preached the parable of the Sower's Cove. And it's kind of a circular, semicircular amphitheater. And actually, let's drop in and show you kind of what it looks like. So if you turn around, this is what's called Sower's Cove. It has a bit of an amphitheater effect. And what Jesus did, he got into the boat and got into the middle of the lake, or middle of the Sower's Cove. And even today, if you go there, acoustics work very well. People, about a couple hundred people, can stand around or sit on the shore, and they can hear very well from somebody who is in the middle of the cove in a boat, kind of giving them parable. And again, this is called parable of the sower, because that's where it is believed that he delivered parable of the sower. So with that, now we have our geography. You have Sower's Cove, you have Capernaum. Let's jump into the product and the latest build. We will launch Unreal Engine, and we now have added some of the demo functionality as to what the actual Bible will look like and be presented in the product, and not just the 3D environment. So this will be mock-up of the title screen. You have the Bible canonically, you'll have the timeline chronologically, and you'll have the atlas where you can look at the geography. So today we can click on the Bible, and again, this is a demo, functional demo. You'll have a whole Bible laid out by books. We'll focus obviously to start on the New Testament. Let's click on Mark, and this is Parable of the Sower. And Parable of the Sower has to do with the terrace farm, where Jesus talked about 4 different soils: the good soil, the shallow, the path, and the thorns. And you will see an explanation of it in a second. So if you click on Mark 4, or roll over, or click, you will see all of Mark displayed here. If you focus on Parable of the Sower, this will give you commentary. This will also give you additional materials, the biblical stories, and we'll watch one in a second. Photos, this is what Sower's Cove looks like. You'll be able to do virtual tours. This is where you can jump into things. And here on the left, you see the map, Capernaum. And now we've added terrace farms, and I'll show them to you in a second. And Sower's Cove is somewhere right here. So if you want to jump into the product, let's go to Capernaum. So this is Capernaum as it was in first century. I'm going to move out a little bit to give you a better view from the water. This is Sea of Galilee. Sower's Cove is there to the left. We're adding it next. That's Mount Beatitudes up on there. And this is City of Capernaum. The rectangular building in the middle is the synagogue, and the building in front of it is Peter's house. So let's kind of zoom in and see the latest build. We have updated the water so it looks more realistic. There's some better shadows. So this is Peter's house, and we'll develop it in much greater detail. That's where you saw octagonal church on top of it. And this is the synagogue as it looked like in first century. You can now walk into the synagogue. We improved the lighting, and you saw those columns, kind of how were the remaining columns, how they look like. The benches, that's where people would have sat around the synagogue. And you have the synagogue. A lot of stories will happen inside the synagogue. The new feature I'd like to show you is the terrace farms. So as you can see, if you look outside Capernaum in this area, it was a hilly kind of area. Therefore, it was difficult to have farms that were flat. So what we used, or what was used back then, is terrace farming. So they would, and this is our mock-up of the terrace farm. So you would have layers where they build in rocks. You'll have good soil in the middle, then you'll have a path toward the wall. Thorns would grow usually by the wall, and the shallow is a transition from the path to good soil. So this kind of gives you an idea of where terrace farms would have been in Capernaum in first century. And when Jesus preached the parable of the sower, the assumption was people knew exactly how terrace farming worked. So what we have next to share with you is the storyboard. That's not the by far final video, but this will show you what will be in the product when it is done. So it'll give you an idea of what it will look like. Let me jump into where is it? Storyboards, right here. And this is the parable of the sower video that you will see here in a second. Again, this is just in a storyboard format, and it'll be actually pretty high quality production when it ends. We'll have a number of these videos/stories built into the final product, probably about 120 different ones. So.
Again, Jesus began to teach by the lake. The crowd that gathered around him was so large that he got into a boat and sat in it out on the lake, while all the people were along the shore at the water's edge. He taught them many things by parable, and in his teaching said, "Listen, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and birds came up and ate it up. Some fell in rocky places, where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, plants were scorched, and they withered, because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so they did not bear grain. And still other seed fell on good soil, came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times." Then Jesus said, "Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear."
And there you are. So this was kind of parable of the sower. And again, if you want to look at the map really quickly, this is kind of Sower's Cove. And historically, this is believed where Jesus preached the parable of the sower, hence the name. And Capernaum is kind of right here. So jumping back into the build, we can skip and you can go to Mark. And what you'll be able to do also, you'll be able to actually jump on this dynamic map when it's done between different places. So you can jump straight to the terrace farm and look around from here. And then let's jump through here. And then you'll be able to jump into Capernaum and look around. We're working on crowds, so there'll be people walking more naturally. We're also working on the marketplace. You'll be able to interact with characters eventually, but in this build we're not there yet. At least each character is individually now walking, and you'll be able to look at the marketplace and look around. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for joining us. This is the build production for September 17th, 2024 for Epika Worlds LLC. Thank you very much.